Boldwood presents The Seaside Ice Cream Parlour, written by Sarah Hope and read by Sophie Dora Hall. The moral right of the author has been asserted. This performance is owned by Boldwood. Chapter 1. Please don't start grumbling, Grace. You've already had something to eat. You just need to give in and go to sleep now. Pushing the brake down with her foot, Jenny Weaver peered over the top of the buggy. Grace looked shattered. Not that she blamed her. They'd had to catch the coach at 6:45 a.m, a time when they'd usually still be asleep. Not long now. Soon we'll be on the train and then hopefully you will fall asleep. Looking over at the departure board, she watched the updates flashing through. She smiled. It looked as though their train was still running on time. Another 5 minutes and they'd be out of the London smog and on their way to their new life. They'd done it. Well, almost. Their recent life of sofa surfing was over. In just a few short hours, they'd have somewhere they could call home again. Somewhere Grace could leave her toys scattered on the living room floor of an evening, ready to jump back into the same game the next morning. A place where they could finally start to put some roots down. "Excuse me, miss." Shaking her thoughts away, she focused on the boy standing in front of her. Taking in his ripped jeans and blue baseball cap pulled down over his eyes, she shifted her weight, clicking up the brake to unlock it, ready to head further up the platform towards the suited office workers if she needed to. She wasn't in the mood for any trouble. Not today. "You've been dropping your luggage. I think your suitcase might be broke." Turning behind her to where he pointed, Jenny cursed under her breath. T-shirts, underwear, and a collection of other items littered the path behind her, leading all the way back towards the lift. "Thank you, I hadn't noticed." Leaving the suitcase where it stood, Jenny turned the buggy and began picking up items of their clothing, balancing them on the hood of the buggy. "Oi, you lot, come and help!" The boy in the baseball cap whistled back at his friends, who unfolded their long limbs from the bench and lumbered towards them. Bending to grab another of Grace's tiny T-shirts, she watched as the 5 teenage boys ran the length of the platform, picking up their pastel-coloured clothes. Pausing, she accepted the handfuls of clothes as she was handed them and glanced around the busy platform. Unbelievable. Every day the newspapers and the news told stories on knife crime, postcode gangs and the general disrespect of young people today, and yet here she was, her suitcase having expelled her worldly goods. And who comes to her rescue? Yep, a group of wayward teenagers, whilst the respectful citizens happily stand around in their expensive suits, clasping briefcases and desperately trying to avert their eyes, pretending to be focused on the urgent text they had just received, or too busy staring at the empty railway line, willing the train to come and rescue them from their uncomfortable stance. Rolling her eyes, she wheeled the buggy in the direction of a pair of flowery pink leggings, which were blowing across the platform, perilously close to a group of... "Excuse me." Picking up some leggings, she jogged on to the next item. "Here you go, miss." The boy in the blue cap passed another armful of clothes to Jenny. "Thank you." Nodding, she took the clothes from him just as the platform filled with the noise of the approaching train. "Do you want me to check the lift for you? In case there's more in there and upstairs?" No, you've done more than enough. You get your train." Smiling, she stood and accepted the rest of their belongings as the teenagers ran towards the train. Heading back to the suitcase, she lifted the lid and chucked their luggage back inside. The zip must have worked loose. She'd known it was a bit dodgy, but had assumed it would at least get them to Helen's. "What are we going to do, hey, Grace?" Dragging the suitcase towards the bench, she tilted her head towards the lift. It would be just her luck that she'd left a trail of clothes all the way from the bus stop outside the station. Looking back towards the train, humming at the side of the platform, she drummed her fingers against the wooden seat. What was she supposed to do? Run to catch the train, which would no doubt leave any second now, or go and collect the rest of their clothes? She'd get the train. They couldn't afford to miss it. If they did, they'd miss Helen, and Jenny wouldn't have a clue what she would be doing for the next few months. Clothes she could replace. Not right now, but they could muddle through until the end of the month, and she was able to take a paycheck. Yes, they'd get the train. 1 minute. Trying to block out Grace's now high-pitched screaming, she yanked the zip to the suitcase up. Pulling the band out of her hair, she looped it through the small hole in the pull of the zip, and stretching it, tied it to the strap. She shrugged. It wasn't perfect, but it'd have to do until they got there. "Come on, Grace. We're getting on the train now." Standing up, she pushed forward towards the track. "Blanky!" Grace's voice broke into a series of hiccups as she cried. Holding her hands up, she tried to grasp the hood of the buggy. "Blanky! Oh, drat. The damn thing had been in the suitcase. She'd packed it in there, worried that it would get lost on the train. She hadn't seen it as she'd shoved the recovered clothes back in, though. Looking from the train to the lift, Jenny cursed under her breath and turned the buggy back on itself. If she didn't find Blanky, she could wave goodbye to any sleep for the foreseeable future. Blanky! Okay, let's go and find Blanky. Striding towards the lift, she kept her eyes on the floor, searching for anything familiar-looking. There it is! There's Blanky! Bending down, Jenny retrieved the pink, holy scrap of material from where it had somehow wrapped its way around the leg of a bench. Giving it a shake, she inspected it before wiping it over her top and passing it to Grace, who immediately leaned her head against the back of the buggy and pushed her thumb in her mouth, clutching her precious Blanky between her index and middle finger. Taking a deep breath, Jenny tried to push the image of a million germs marching their way from the blanket to Grace's soft cheek. She'd give her a bath later anyway. A few germs were nothing compared to her screaming herself to sleep. It would be fine. Peering down over the side of the footbridge, she rolled her eyes as their train inched forward, picking up the speed as it left the station until it was just a dot in the far distance. Great. Leaning her back against the cool of the wooden bench, Jenny closed her eyes, her face turned up to the summer sun beating down. She twisted the buggy to face the wall behind, the hood pulled up as low as it could go, so at least Grace was shaded. She could already feel her arms tingling with the heat. She hadn't bothered slapping the sun cream on this morning. After all, they should have been on the train most of the day. The whimsical ringtone from her mobile screeched through the silent, empty platform. Opening her eyes, she grappled around in the bottom of the buggy until her fingers closed around her mobile. The last thing she needed was for Grace to wake up and get bored now. Hello? Jenny? Jen? How's the train ride going? Is Gracie enjoying it? Helen? We missed the train. The damn suitcase came open, spewing our clothes everywhere. Luckily, some teenagers came to the rescue and helped me collect it all, but we've missed our train. Sorry. Oh, no! Did you manage to get everything back? I think so. That's something, then. When's the next one? Half an hour. Glancing across to the departure board, she rolled her eyes. Scrap that, it's been delayed. The next train's in an hour and 45 minutes. You're still going to get here in time, though, aren't you? In all honesty, I don't know. I hope so, but it will probably be quite tight now. Leaning forward, she picked at a loose thread on the knee of her jeans. Sorry. Hey, no need to apologise. It's not your fault. No, but it's just typical of my life right now, isn't it? You need to stop this. It's just a delay on the line. No doubt a couple of leaves got blown into the track or something. It has nothing to do with you and the way your life is turning out. It's not your fault. You need to give yourself a break and start believing things will turn around for you, and they will. I believe you? Well, you should do. You moving down here and running this place is going to be great. You'll love it. I asked around and checked out some toddler groups and stuff for you too. There's loads on. Parent and toddler groups, singing and signing groups, all that type of happy clappy stuff you like. There's even a sandcastle building meetup on a Friday. Can you imagine that? You can actually take your toddler to a sandcastle building lesson. Whatever next. Thank you for checking them out. You're welcome. More than welcome. So, are you all set then? Yep, I think so. Well, there's no going back now, is there? So I've kind of got to be. You'll have a great time out there. I hope so. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to catching up with that side of my family again. Although, it's not really catching up, is it? Not after 15 years. It'd be more like getting to know them all over again. I keep worrying that they'll not like me, or we won't get on for some reason, and then I'll be stuck there for 3 months with almost complete strangers who I don't really want. It'll be fine. You'll be fine. And it's not like you don't know them at all. You've been Skyping for ages. I know, but it's not the same, is it? What if they don't really want me staying with them? What if they just feel like they should have me? Now you're worrying over nothing. They wouldn't have offered if they didn't want you staying at theirs. Weren't they the ones who said you should go over to visit in the first place? Yes. There you go then. I know. I'm just being silly, aren't I? Yes, you are. It'll be an adventure. I hope so. It's just a long way. I never thought for a million years that I'd be swanning over to the other side of the world to go and stay with people I hardly know and work out on their ranch. It'll be amazing. You've always wanted to go to Australia, and now you not only get to do that, but you get to work with horses too. You'll be in your element. Stop worrying and enjoy it. You're right, I will. I've just got a few hours to kill. It's the waiting around that's making me doubt myself. I wish you were here already. I'm sorry. No, don't be. I'll be okay. Why don't you go for a stroll along the beach or something? Try to keep your mind off it. I might do, although I'm not sure what shift Nick is volunteering on. Won't he be at work? No, he takes Mondays off because he usually covers one day over the weekend. Can't you just go for a walk in the other direction? You don't have to go past the lifeboat station if you don't want to, surely. Plus, if there hasn't been a call-out, he'd still be at home, wouldn't he? I thought they only went out if there was a call-out. Sometimes, but sometimes they hang around the station or patrol the beaches in case they're needed, especially during the summer season. I can't wait not to have to try to avoid him anymore. I think this time away will do you good. Hopefully you can just put him out of your head, and then when you get back, you won't have to worry about running into him or not because you won't care anymore. Hopefully. It's been so difficult these past few months. It takes all my strength just to forget about him, and then when I do manage to think of something else or go on a date with another guy, he just pops up, right there in front of me. It must be really difficult living so close to him. It is, it really is. Anyway, enough about me. How's your love life going? It's got to be better than mine, surely. My love life? What's that? Jenny swallowed. No, I'm not really interested in getting involved with anyone anytime soon, thank you very much. Grace keeps me busy. I don't need any distractions. You're still hoping Anthony will want to get back together, aren't you? Twisting the loose thread around her index finger, Jenny pulled. It wasn't budging. No, he's happy with this Annie. I'm just dreading when Grace has to meet her. I'm sorry, Jenny. Hey, don't feel sorry for me. Me and Anthony weren't getting along for a long time, and at least he left before he started seeing her. He's decent enough not to have an affair. Helen took a sharp intake of breath. It wasn't long before. I've no doubt that they did, but at least he didn't start seeing her behind my back. I'm certain of that. Jenny shrugged. She'd believed Anthony when he'd said he hadn't had an affair with Annie. It still hurt like hell, that he preferred Annie over her, but at least he had been honest. No, I really just want to focus on Grace while she's so young. Men can wait. Good on you. Looking towards the empty train track and back down again, Jenny rolled her eyes. Why was everyone so pitying? Why couldn't they believe that she was actually happy being on her own? Anyway, are you okay leaving me out a list of instructions in case we do miss each other later? Yep, already done. Besides, Ashley will be here so she can show you the ropes. Thanks. Right, I better get going. Customers. Okay, hopefully I'll see you later. Oh yes, sorry, before I go, you haven't forgotten about Smudge, have you? Smudge. Helen's cat, of course. She'd have to write a reminder on her phone to feed him. Smudge? No, of course I haven't. Grace can't wait to meet him. Yes, great. See you later. Bye. Lowering her mobile to her lap, Jenny rolled it around in her hands. She'd really needed to catch up with Helen before she flew off. How was she supposed to figure out how to run the Seaside ice cream parlour from a list of hastily written notes? Helen had built the parlour up from the ground. It was her business baby. What if Jenny ran it out of business? Anything could happen. She'd barely had any retail experience, unless you counted the job she'd got to the local newsagents when she was 16, which had lasted all of 6 weeks. What if she wasn't cut out to make and serve ice cream all day? And the accounts. She'd have to do the accounts. What was she getting herself into? Shh. Pushing the buggy slightly forwards and backwards, she shushed Grace as she began to stir. She was doing it for her. She'd taken the leap for Grace. The other parents at toddler group had begun asking about their living arrangements. She'd need somewhere to feel settled again. Leaning her elbows on her knees, Jenny held her head in her hands. She'd tried. Ever since Anthony had left, she'd tried to get a job, tried to raise enough money for the rent, but she'd failed. She'd failed them both. They'd had to leave their rented apartment when she couldn't pay the rent, and so for the last 5 months, they'd lived in a total of 7 different places. Her mum had done her best to try to get Jenny's dad to agree for them to move in with them, but he'd always believed children should stand on their own 2 feet, and had obviously preferred to see his daughter and granddaughter sofa surf for months on end than offer them the spare room. It wasn't as though she wasn't qualified. She was. She'd been to university. She'd got herself a nurse's qualification. She'd had a job right up until she'd been 37 weeks pregnant. She'd even planned on returning to work after maternity leave, but Anthony had felt she should stay at home with Grace. And it'd been lovely being a full-time mum, it really had. But now here she was, out of work for 3 years, and not a job in sight. It would be great living by the sea. It really would. and she was so grateful to Helen for giving them this opportunity, but she was still petrified. There were so many doubts whirring around in her mind. What if she couldn't cope being miles away from everyone she knew? What if she struggled to balance running the parlour and motherhood? What if she just wasn't as business-minded as Helen and made the wrong business choices? Anything and everything could go wrong. She looked across at Grace. She was now sleeping peacefully with her blankie grasped to her cheek. There was so much that could go right too. So much. It was Grace that mattered. Nothing else. Jenny would cope being away from her family and friends as long as she still had Grace with her. Things would be fine. They had to be. Chapter 2. Look, can you see it, Gracie? Can you see our new home? Turning and dragging the suitcase down the short flight of steps from the bus, Jenny set it down on the pavement next to the buggy. Are you getting back in, or do you want to walk the rest of the way? Walk. OK, hold on to the buggy then. Looking both ways, they crossed the road. The Seaside ice cream parlour stood proudly on the corner of the street, lined with greasy spoon cafes, tiny shops stuffed full of holiday trinkets, and a collection of chip shops, all vying for the tourists' attention. Its pink and white canopy flapped gently up and down in the warm breeze, blowing inland from the seafront opposite. Look, over there is the sea. Shall we go and explore later? Sea! Yes, the sea. Pushing the front door to the parlour open, she gently guided Grace inside before pushing the buggy in and yanking the suitcase up the step. The sweet and creamy aroma of ice cream hit her nostrils as the door swung shut behind them. Jenny, you're here! Helen appeared from a doorway behind the counter, her arms outstretched. Helen, I'm so glad we made it before you left. Allowing herself to be pulled into a hug, she watched as Grace stood still, her eyes transfixed on the tall, flamboyant lady hugging her mum. Me too, only just though. My taxi will be here any minute. Stepping out of Helen's embrace, Jenny looked around. She didn't remember the brightly painted yellow and white walls, or the typically British seaside blue plastic chairs and tables. You've done a lot to it since I was last here. You can say that again. It wasn't easy, mind you. Not painting over that dull purple colour. Do you remember it? It was awful, wasn't it? It wasn't bright and cheerful like this, that's for sure. It looks great now. Really great. Just how an ice cream parlour should look. Thanks. I think the makeovers really helped to get the customers in, and offering them somewhere to sit has too. It's made us different from the other 100 ice cream shops crowding the seafront. It's great. Right. I've written everything in here. Helen held up a navy notebook. It's got everything from the recipes for the ice creams, although they are in the recipe book out the back in the kitchen as well, to instructions on how to keep the accounts and the details and prices for the parties. Nothing special, just traditional party games, designing and making their own ice cream flavours and serving a bit of party food, that's all. They seem to be going down well, though. We've actually got one booked in for tomorrow, for a 3-year-old actually, so you might be able to make some little friends for Grace. Party? Tomorrow? Yes, but don't look so worried. Ashley will be here anyway. She'll have it all under control. I've asked her to show you the ropes too. Right, OK. Brilliant. Oh, that'll be my taxi. I better get going. You'll be great. Use anything left in the cupboards, fridge and freezer. Basically, use this as your home now, OK? Yes, will do. Thanks. Jenny shook her head. You have a wonderful time in Australia. Don't worry about a thing here. I won't. Oh, don't forget to feed Smudge. Bye. Bye, Gracie. And that was it. They were alone. Left standing in the middle of the seaside ice cream parlour without a clue how to run the place. Careful, Grace. Don't touch those. You'll have the whole display down. Rushing across, she gently prized Gracie's fingers from a bottle of ice cream sauce. I want eats. Yeah, me too, Gracie. Me too. Slowly turning around, she took in the brilliant white counter, positioned at the back of the parlour. The bar stools drawn up underneath made her think of some old TV programme. To the left of the till, an array of bottles of sauces and jars of toppings covered half the counter, before it gave way to the long freezer which seemed to house 1,000,000 different ice cream flavours. And she was supposed to make these ice creams? All of them? In the small kitchen out the back? What had she got herself into? Eats! Come on then, let's go and get something to eat. Taking Gracie by the hand, she led her out of the parlour. The buggy and suitcase still standing in the middle of the black and white tiled floor could wait for them. She could unpack when they got back. When we get back, we best remember to feed Smudge. Smudge. Yes, Smudge. Helen's kitty. You'll like him. These are yummy, aren't they? Do you want another one? Holding Grace's cardboard cone of chips towards her, Jenny shrugged her shoulders as she was ignored. Grace preferring to draw a mismatch of circles and lines in the damp sand, rather than eat the food she had so desperately needed only a few minutes before. Letting the salt from the chips dissolve in her mouth, she inhaled the warm sea air. Her mum always said it was good for the lungs, and maybe it was. It would make sense, wouldn't it? Being blown across thousands of miles of ocean must purify it somehow. Jenny shrugged. It certainly wasn't laced with exhaust fumes and hadn't been regurgitated by millions of other people's lungs before hitting hers, not like the air hiding in the London smog. This definitely smelled cleaner. Hopefully Ashley would get into work early tomorrow. Yes, she probably would. She'd want to show willing to her new boss. She'd want to get things in order tomorrow so the transition between management could be seamless. Management. That's what Helen had said when she'd first asked if Jenny would look after the place for her. She'd asked if Jenny would consider managing the parlour for a few months. Jenny tried to ignore the gnawing feeling of apprehension rising from the pit of her stomach. She'd be fine. She used to save people's lives when she worked in accident and emergency. She could make sure a little ice cream parlour turned over a profit. She could, couldn't she? Shaking her head, she picked up a shell next to her and pushed herself to standing. Grace, look what I found. A pretty seashell. Shall we see if we can find any more? Shell's pretty. Peering at the small shell in Jenny's hand, Grace's eyes widened as she picked it up and clasped it in her fist. Look, more. Yes, let's look for more shells. Following Grace as she zigzagged along the beach, Jenny held her chip cone as it was filled with seashells along with the odd pebble or two. Soon Grace's attention was pulled towards the sea, the delicate waves lolling inland. Inching closer and closer, Grace stood watching as the white horses foamed towards her. Here, let's take our shoes off and go paddling. Laying the chip cones on the sand, Jenny smiled as the brave seagull swooped down to help itself to Grace's unwanted chips. Turning, she helped Grace take her shoes off before slipping her own trainers off. See! Hold my hand then and we can go paddling. Grasping Grace's small podgy hand in hers, Jenny walked them into the shallow waves. Grinning, she listened to Grace giggle as the warm water tickled at her feet. She probably didn't remember them coming down last year with Anthony. She'd have only been 2. Chapter 3. No, that's fine. It can't be helped. Swallowing the bar rising to her throat, Jenny kept her voice steady. Replacing the phone in the holder, she turned and leaned against the counter. Ashley was poorly. She wasn't coming in. Jenny would have to open up, serve customers, and prepare and implement a party. All on her first ever day of ever doing anything like this. On her own. Mummy, 1 minute. Looking down at Grace's auburn curls, Jenny unhooked Grace's fingers from their grasp on her top. She needed to think. It was 9:15 now. The parlour was supposed to open at 9. She had 15 minutes to work out what she was supposed to do. 15 minutes to learn a career Helen had been working on for the past 5 years. Mummy? Grace, what's the matter? Mummy's busy at the moment. Me toys. Toys, right, yes, I'll get you some. That was the other thing. How was she supposed to keep a close eye on Grace while she was the only one running the parlour? She'd get a heap of toys for her, that's what she'd do. Hopefully that would entice Grace to stay behind the counter, and if it didn't, she'd just have to bribe her to be strapped into the buggy. It wouldn't matter for a few minutes here and there if they got busy. That would be the safest option. Right, Grace, that's... Leaning her back behind the counter, Jenny settled her with a colouring book and some crayons before turning back to Helen's navy notebook. Flicking back to the pages detailing the parties, she read through the instructions again. Deciphering Helen's cursive scroll was a little easier the second time around. In theory, it should be quite straightforward. The toddler parties only lasted an hour and a half, in which time they had some simple party games, ate party food, and then had the opportunity to create their own ice cream with a mixture of ice cream flavours, sauces and toppings. Helen had left all the party food already prepared, so all Jenny had to do was carry out the actual party. She tapped her foot against the tiled floor. It sounded easy enough. Maybe she should just ring and check a few details with Helen, though. Picking up the phone, she stared at it. No. She could do this. It wouldn't be fair to call her over this, not something she should be able to work out for herself. She checked the clock on the wall. Helen would still be on the plane. She wouldn't be able to ring her anyway. The tinkle of the small bell above the door rang through the parlour, making her jump. "Morning!" Smiling, Jenny closed the notebook and watched as a woman led a toddler towards the display of ice cream. "How can I help you?" "Hi, sorry, we won't be a minute." Bending down, the woman picked up a small boy and pointed to the various ice creams. "That's okay, just let me know when you've chosen." Placing the notebook on the small shelf on the back wall, Jenny looked down at Grace, who was miraculously playing quietly with her doll. "Can we have a small scoop of bubblegum ice cream, please, in a cone?" "Yes, of course." Taking the ice cream scoop, Jenny loaded the cone with a mound of bright blue ice cream. "Can I get you anything else? Sprinkles?" "No, just that. Thanks." "Okay." Twisting behind her, Jenny checked the price on the display board. "That will be £1.50 then, please." She swapped the ice cream with the £5 note the woman held in her free hand. "Thank you." "Here you go, Max." Lowering Max to the floor, the woman straightened, waiting for her change. "Sorry, I won't be a moment." Pressing the button on the till, Jenny swallowed. Why wasn't it opening? She had followed Helen's instructions. It should be opening. Checking the wires leading into it, she ran the ice cream through the till again. "Sorry, it's the first time I've used it. It should be opening by now." "Don't worry." The woman took a serviette from the counter, and bending down, she wiped a blob of blue ice cream from her son's nose. Turning back to the shelf, Jenny grabbed the notebook, flicked through the pages and scanned through the instructions Helen had left on how to work the till. She'd done everything right. She pressed the correct buttons in the correct order. Repeating the steps again, Jenny told herself it had to work this time. Nope. Nothing. The drawer still wouldn't budge open. If she had the coins in her own purse, she'd use that, but she'd used the last of her change to buy their chips last night. That's all she needed, another customer. She'd have to close, or else tell anyone who came in that she couldn't take cash today. There was a card machine. People would just have to pay by card. "Look, I'm sorry. Here, have this one on the house." Passing the £5 note back to the woman, she smiled. "If you're sure, thank you." "She won't like that." "I'm sorry?" Tilting her head, Jenny looked across at the man who had just come in. "Helen, she won't want you to give away her profits." Lowering himself on a stool at the counter, the new customer wiped his hand across his chin, his skin rasping against the dark stubble. "Well, I wouldn't have to if I could work out how to open this thing. Helen would understand, and besides, it's my call to make for the next few months anyway." Feeling the heat rise from her chest to her face, Jenny pursed her lips and glared at him. Who did he think he was? Coming in here and telling her what Helen would or wouldn't want her doing? Helen certainly wouldn't begrudge giving a little boy a £1.50 ice cream for free. "I'm just saying," Mr. Stubble retorted. "Yes, well, anyway, what can I get you?" "I'll have a tub with a scoop of berry and meringue surprise and a scoop of cookie dough and vanilla, please." "Right." Picking up the ice cream scoop, she ladled the ice creams into a small tub before placing it carefully on the counter in front of him. "That will be £3 then, please." "Okay." Standing up, he rummaged in the back pocket of his jeans and took out a debit card, laying it on the counter before counting out precisely £3 and a mixture of 50p and 10p pieces. "You don't mind the change, I take it?" "Not at all." Sighing, she counted out the coins. "Do you need any help?" Sitting back on the stool, he took a spoonful of ice cream, letting it melt in his mouth before pointing the spoon at the till. "I'm fine, thank you." He was going to sit there until he finished it, wasn't he? Looking towards the door, she willed someone else to come in, anything to distract him from the fact that she hadn't attempted to put the money in the till yet. "Can I have a receipt when you're ready, please?" Was he being serious? Who asked for a receipt for an ice cream? What was he going to do with it? Put it through the accounts wherever he worked? Claim the tax back on it? "Of course. Thank you." Taking a deep breath, she punched the buttons on the till and waited for the drawer to open. Nothing. "Are you sure you don't need any help?" "I'm fine." Clenching her teeth together, she tried again. He was doing this on purpose. "Look, if you just—" "I said I was fine." Glaring at him, she shook her head. She shouldn't have snapped at him. However infuriating he was still a customer. "Sorry, it's my first day." "I know. Helen said you were coming." "She did? You know Helen?" "There's an act to it. You just need to—" Leaning across, jumping back, she narrowly missed tripping over Grace's colouring book. "Thank you." You're most welcome. Mummy, eats! Okay, do you want another breadstick? Taking a breadstick from the box on the shelf behind her, Jenny passed it to Grace. Ta. You've got a child behind there? Standing up from the stool, he peered over the counter. Yes, my daughter. What business was it of his, anyway? Right. Shaking his head, he sat back down. Narrowing her eyes, she turned away. Maybe if she made herself look busy, he'd get the hint and leave. Kneeling down, she looked through the cupboards until she found a shelf labelled party. Yellow plates, bowls and mugs were organised into neat piles. Taking the pile of plates out, she placed them on the back counter under the shelf and began counting them out. 8 children were coming to the party. Would she need plates and bowls for the adults? Would they be expecting to eat too? No, she was sure they wouldn't. Whenever she'd been to a party with Grace, the adults didn't have food prepared for them. They usually just ate their leftovers. Yes, that's what they do. You've got a party this morning? Replacing the spare plates and bowls, she stood up. Yes. I hope you've got enough sauce. Kids always use way too much sauce. You've got children? No, not me. I have a niece, though. I sometimes bring her in here. Oh, right. That's nice, then. Yes, she likes it. Jenny nodded. Right, that's me done. Good luck with your party. Twisting around, he slipped off the stool. Holding his hand up as he swung the door open, he waved as he disappeared onto the street. Shaking her head, Jenny chucked his small cardboard tub into the recycling bin. I guess we were bound to have at least one awkward customer today. Hey, Gracie. Standing in the middle of the room, Jenny looked around. She'd arranged the tables into one long line, small chairs tucked under and party hats placed on top of the plates. The parcel for Pass the Parcel and a bag of small treats were on the counter, and nursery rhymes played in the background. Yes, everything was prepared. They just needed the birthday girl and her guest to arrive now, and they could begin. Grace, come here, Poppet. Kneeling down, Jenny held Grace's small hand in hers. Now, do you remember I told you some other children are coming here for a party? Grace nodded, her tiny bunches flicking up and down with the movement of her head. Well, I need you to be a super good girl and play behind the counter, okay? And if you're super good, we can have our own ice cream party after they've gone, okay? Grace nodded again, before running back behind the counter to the dolls scattered on the floor. Jenny shook her head, trying to force the image of Mr. Stubble and his disapproving looks out of her mind. It wasn't ideal, she knew that. It was probably against some rule or something too, but what other choice does she have? Hopefully Ashley will be back in tomorrow and things will be easier. Peering over the counter, within seconds the other one raced to rescue her, flying Superman style before coming to a painful landing. She still seemed so young, too young to go to nursery. But Jenny supposed she'd have to send her. Life here wouldn't be sustainable if she didn't get some form of childcare. Should we go and have a look at some nurseries when Ashley is feeling better? Yay! Standing up, Grace jumped up and down, her small feet pounding against the floor. That's right. Jenny smiled. It was amazing how enthusiastic Grace could be over something that she had no idea about. Did she even know what a nursery was? She certainly didn't realise that she'd be left there, Jenny was sure of that. After 3 solid years of always having her mum at home with her, or being with her dad, it would certainly be a shock being left in a complete stranger's care. Is it party time, Mummy? Grace looked up at Jenny. Almost, but remember you need to be super good, don't you? Nodding, Grace's hazel eyes sparkled. Oh, look, I think this must be the birthday girl coming now. Shaking out her arms, Jenny plastered a grin on her face and held the door open as a little girl ran towards the parlour, shortly followed by her parents. Morning. You must be the birthday princess, is that right? A small girl dressed in a pale pink glittery t-shirt, teamed with a bright pink tutu-style skirt, was ushered through the door pulling a large fall unicorn balloon which bounced across the doorframe behind her. Hi, I'm Sasha, Peony's mum. I don't think we've met. I booked this party whilst Helen was here. A tall lady with a bleached blonde bob stuck her hand out before introducing her husband, Dave. Nice to meet you both. Taking Sasha's hand in hers, Jenny smiled before turning to Peony. So, are you all ready for your party? Peony nodded, slipped her hand from her mother's grasp and ran towards the counter, promptly sticking her hands on the glass of the ice cream display. Mind your sticky fingers, Peony. Don't worry, she's fine. Is that the cake? Do you want me to take that? I can display it on the small table at the side if you like. Indicating the large cardboard box Dave was carrying, Jenny stepped forward. "Thank you." Turning her back, Jenny gently opened the box and lifted out the large unicorn head cake, decorated in more edible glitter than she had ever seen on one cake. She pushed it towards the back of the table. Hopefully it'll be out of the reach of small children there. "It's beautiful." "It should be. It cost enough." These things do, don't they? Not usually.